It was a typical Thursday evening at our home on the outskirts of the bustling city. John and I were falling into our usual routines, him with a beer in hand, unwinding on the sofa after a grueling day at the auto repair shop, and me, Virginia, absorbed in my laptop, tracking the latest trends in stocks and cryptocurrencies. Our once cozy two-story house, chosen for its potential to nurture a family, now felt like a battleground for our diverging paths. "So, how's the market today?" John asked, his tone casual but carrying the all-too-familiar hint of tension. "Same as usual, fluctuations, but cryptocurrencies look promising," I replied, doing my best to keep things civil. John snorted dismissively, setting his beer down a little harder than necessary. "Crypto again. You know, not everything that glitters is gold, Virginia." I sighed, closing my laptop as I prepared for the same tired argument. "And not every car that rolls into your shop is worth fixing. But you fix them because you see their potential. Why can't you see the value in what I'm doing?" "Because cars are tangible, Virginia. You can touch them, fix them, sell them. What you're doing, throwing our money into the wind and hoping it comes back with more. It's reckless." Frustration bubbled inside me as the conversation spiraled once again. "It's not reckless, John. It's calculated. There's a big difference between gambling and investing." John stood up and began pacing. "Calculated? You call putting our hard-earned money into something as unstable as cryptocurrency calculated?" "Yes, I do," I said, my voice firm. "I don't just jump in blindly. I research, I study trends, and I make informed decisions. It's not much different from what you do at your shop." John stopped pacing, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "My shop is a sure thing, Virginia. People will always need car repairs. But this? It's just a phase. What happens when it crashes? What then? We could lose everything. We could lose money on anything, John. The shop could fail too. Nothing is guaranteed. But haven't we seen good returns on my investments? Doesn't that count for something?" John's frustration deepened. "It's not just about the money, Virginia. It's about security. It's about not risking everything on a gamble. Why can't we invest more into the shop? We could expand, build something lasting, something tangible, and put all our eggs in one basket," I countered. "What if something happens to the shop, John? Diversification is key. That's investing 101. He shook his head, the gap between us widening with every word. "Diversification? Sure. But into something stable. This digital fairy dust you're chasing is a fantasy." Feeling the need to defend my choices and independence, I shot back. "You know, for someone who runs his own business, you're surprisingly close-minded. And you're surprisingly stubborn," he retorted. "I'm just trying to build something lasting," I said, my voice tight with frustration. "Something we can actually see and touch," he muttered. As usual, our conversation was going nowhere. "Let's just agree to disagree, okay? I won't comment on how you run your shop and you don't critique my investments." John exhaled deeply, the fight leaving him. "Fine. But just remember, Virginia, if all this blows up, don't say I didn't warn you." The tension between us wasn't the only strain in our lives. The dynamics with John's family added another layer of complexity. Living near his parents and sister meant constant interactions, each a reminder of how different our views on family and responsibility were. It was on a Sunday afternoon when John suggested we visit his parents. The mere thought made my stomach churn. It wasn't his parents I feared. It was Carol, his sister, whose lifestyle always left me bewildered. "Come on, Virginia. It's been ages since we saw them. Mom's been asking about you, and you know Dad's dealing with cancer," John pressed, noticing my hesitation. "Yeah, I bet Carol misses me too," I muttered, my sarcasm clear. "Look, I know you two don't get along, but can you just try for me?" John pleaded. I sighed, resigning myself to it. "Fine. But I'm not sticking around if she starts bragging about her shopping sprees." When we arrived, Carol was already there, flaunting her latest designer bag like it was a trophy. "Look at this. Just got it yesterday. Isn't it fabulous?" she gushed, barely acknowledging us. "It's something," I said, biting my tongue. John's mother, oblivious to the tension, ushered us inside. "Virginia, dear, so glad you could make it. You two should visit more often." The afternoon dragged on with Carol dominating the conversation, recounting tales of her latest vacations and shopping exploits. I kept my expression neutral, engaging minimally, but my patience was wearing thin. "So, Virginia's still playing with your stocks and bits?" Carol sneered, her tongue dripping with disdain. It's called investing, Carol. Maybe you should try it sometime instead of wasting money on things you don't need. I snapped, my annoyance breaking through. John shot me a warning look, but it was too late. Carol scoffed, investing. Please, gambling on the internet isn't something to brag about. At least when I spend my money, I have something to show for it. Something to show until it goes out of fashion next season, I retorted, unable to hold back. Enough. John's father interjected sternly. We're here to enjoy each other's company, not argue. The rest of the visit passed in uncomfortable silence. As we left, John couldn't hide his frustration. Virginia, why do you have to provoke her? Can't you just let it go for one afternoon? I provoke her? She started it with her snide remarks. I shot back. I'm just not going to sit there and take it, John. Sometimes I need to stand up for myself. I wish she'd try a little harder for peace, John said, his voice edged with frustration. Try harder? John, I'm not the one splurging on luxuries. I shot back, my defiance mingling with exhaustion from the day's events. The tension in the room was thick as Carol continued to parade her latest indulgences, completely unaware, or perhaps uncaring, of how it affected everyone around her. It astounded me that no one ever confronted her over her excesses. John noticed the frustration in my eyes and sighed. She's family, Virginia. We support each other, even if we don't always agree with their choices. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my cool. Supporting someone and enabling their bad choices are two very different things, John. Someone has to set boundaries for her. He rubbed his temple, clearly worn out by the conversation. I get it, but changing her isn't our responsibility. She's set in her ways, and Mom and Dad won't challenge her now. They never have. What about us, though? I pressed, my voice rising despite my best efforts to stay calm. How are we supposed to build a future when your family keeps demanding money like this? It's not sustainable, John. We'll manage, Virginia. We always do, he said, but his words lacked the usual certainty. Then, the news of Mr. Nathan's passing hit us like a tidal wave. The entire family was thrown from discussions about treatment plans to the painful reality of mourning. In the midst of our grief, Carol took control of the funeral arrangements and soon dropped a bombshell about the cost. John's expression darkened as he broke the news in our living room. Virginia, Carol's planned a funeral that costs $90,000. She expects us to cover half. I was stunned. $90,000? That's ridiculous. Are we funding a funeral or putting on a show? John's face tightened. This isn't the time for an argument about money, Virginia. It's about honoring my father properly. But $90,000? I persisted, unable to process the outrageous amount. That's just too much. There has to be some mistake. John's frustration flared. My father has just passed away, and you're here worrying about the cost? That's insensitive, Virginia. I'm not worrying about the cost, John. I'm shocked. We've never even considered spending that much on anything, let alone a funeral, I said, hoping he would understand where I was coming from. He stood abruptly, his chair scraping harshly against the floor. I don't need this right now. If you can't see beyond the numbers for once, maybe you shouldn't be involved. I swallowed the sharp words I wanted to say. His pain was raw, and I knew it wasn't the time to escalate things. I'm sorry, John. I'll make sure the $45,000 is sent to Carol. I just need a moment to process all of this. John paced restlessly, the usual calm of his demeanor unraveling under the weight of grief. It's not just about the money, Virginia. It's about doing the right thing by him. And if that means paying whatever it takes, then we will. His words hung in the air, a stark reminder of the difficult balance between family loyalty and financial responsibility. When I told John that I had sent the funds to Carol, he barely reacted, his mind still consumed by his grief and frustration. The distance between us in our living room felt more like miles than mere feet, the silence thick and oppressive. Stepping into the funeral home, the weight of the past few days hit me all over again. It had been a blur of sadness, confusion, and constant tension, but nothing could have prepared me for the revelation I was about to face. As I approached the reception desk, I steadied my voice and said, "I'm here for Mr. Nathan's funeral." The woman behind the counter looked up, her face full of regret. "I'm so sorry, ma'am, but you're too late. Mr. Nathan was cremated yesterday." My heart sank. "Excuse me, I was told the funeral was today." Her expression softened, and she replied gently, "The family decided to reschedule. I'm deeply sorry for the confusion and for your loss." Frozen, bewildered, and upset, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How could John have failed to tell me? I pulled out my phone, my hands shaking with disbelief and anger, and dialed his number. John, why didn't you tell me the funeral date was changed? I just showed up like a fool, only to find I missed everything. I demanded, the words bursting out. His voice was cold, distant. I didn't think you'd care, Virginia. You've been so focused on the expenses and questioning every decision. I didn't see why you'd want to be there. Because he was my father-in-law. I snapped, my voice cracking with hurt and frustration. Because I'm your wife, how could you just cut me out like that? His response was sharp, and it cut deeper than I expected. Maybe not for much longer, he said, his tone thick with acrimony. I froze, my heart dropping. What are you implying? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I'm done, Virginia, he said, the words heavy with finality. I can't keep doing this. You seem more concerned with your investments than with our family. The divorce papers are ready. Divorce, the word hung in the air, a brutal punch to the gut. John, no, I pleaded, desperate to hold on to something, anything. This can't be happening. Over this, we can talk. We can work things out. No, Virginia, it's too late. His voice was firm now. I'm putting the house on the market. We'll split everything and go our separate ways. I stood there, speechless, my mind reeling. I stumbled back toward the parking lot, barely able to process what had just happened, when I saw Carol pulling up in a brand new luxury car. My anger flared. The sight of her so casual, so unaffected by the chaos around us, infuriated me. Nice car, Carol, I said, my voice tight with resentment. How did you afford this? She shrugged, tossing her hair back with a nonchalant smile. Dad left me a little something. Her casual mention of her father, the shopping bags in her hands, and the lack of any real grief made my blood boil. A little something. Seems mourning has its perks. Her smile faded, and she shot me a cold look. Everyone grieves differently, Virginia. Some of us invest in stocks, others in cars. I clenched my fists, the injustice of it all burning inside me. Here I was watching my relationship with John fall apart, while Carol seemed to thrive amid the wreckage. Enjoy your car, Carol, I said bitterly. It must have cost a pretty penny. Oh, or should I say a pretty dollar? She laughed, but it was hollow, empty, and it echoed through the parking lot as she walked away. The man I loved was slipping away from me, and the family I had tried to embrace was revealing their true colors. In the days that followed, each moment felt clouded by disbelief and betrayal. The divorce papers in my purse felt like an anchor, a constant reminder of how quickly my marriage was disintegrating. But Carol's new luxury car sparked a suspicion that I couldn't shake. Compelled to uncover the truth, I decided to visit the funeral home where Mr. Nathan's service had been arranged. With a mix of determination and suspicion, I entered the funeral home. The air was eerily quiet, fitting the somber atmosphere. I approached the reception desk, ready to confront whatever had been hidden from me. I was taken aback to see Michelle, a high school classmate, working at the funeral home. She seemed like the last person I would expect to be here. Michelle, I called out, louder than I meant to in such a quiet place. I had no idea you worked here. Her head snapped up, and after a brief moment of surprise, recognition washed over her face. Virginia, wow, it's been ages. What brings you here? Anything I can help with? Taking a deep breath, I braced myself for the difficult conversation ahead. Actually, yes, it's about my father-in-law's funeral. I heard it was arranged here. Michelle's demeanor shifted to a professional calm, but I could see the flicker of curiosity in her eyes. Sure, let me pull up the details. As she typed, I fidgeted, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. When Michelle found the record, her eyebrows furrowed in concern. Okay, here it is. The service was straightforward. Just a cremation, kept simple. The total came to $9,000. My heart dropped. Wait, $9,000? I echoed in disbelief. We were told it cost $90,000. That's what Carol said. Michelle paused, her expression turning serious. That's a huge difference. It was Carol who handled the arrangements, right? Right, I replied, dread creeping up my spine. Everything here was billed at $99,000. Nothing more, she added. The pieces of the puzzle were slowly starting to click into place, forming an uncomfortable picture I wasn't ready to see. Can you print me a copy of that bill? I need proof. Sure thing, Michelle said, her tone sympathetic. She quickly printed out a duplicate of the receipt and handed it to me. Holding the paper felt like clutching the first piece of a much larger, troubling revelation. Thanks, Michelle. I've got to sort this out. With the printed receipt in hand, I set off for my mother-in-law's house. The drive was heavy with anticipation. They were likely all gathered there, discussing the estate and the aftermath of the funeral. My stomach churned with a mixture of dread and determination. When I arrived, the house was eerily quiet. I hesitated at the door, gathering my courage before stepping inside. My footsteps echoed down the hallway, announcing my presence. In the living room, John, Carol, and my mother-in-law sat together, looking like a serene family portrait about to be shattered. My mother-in-law spoke first, her voice soft with sorrow. "Dear, we missed you at the funeral yesterday. We thought you'd be there." I took a steadying breath before responding, my voice calm despite the storm brewing inside me. "I was told it was today. I'm truly sorry for your loss." Turning to John, I added, "Can we talk privately? I hope to avoid causing any more distress," but the tension in the room was thick. John's response cut through the air like a knife. "No secrets here. You're not part of this family anymore." His words stung deeper than I expected, and I could feel the sharpness of his rejection. Despite the shock and chaos unfolding around me, I pushed forward. I pulled out the printed receipt from the funeral home and confronted him. "Then explain this to me," I demanded, my voice firm as I held up the evidence. "The funeral cost $9,000, not $90,000 like Carol claimed. Where did the rest of the money go?" John looked genuinely shocked, his gaze flickering between the receipt and Carol, as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. "What's this about, Carol?" he asked, his tone a mix of confusion and betrayal. Under the weight of their scrutiny, Carol squirmed, uncomfortable. After a long pause, she finally admitted, her voice small, "I needed the money." The room fell silent, the gravity of her confession settling in. My mother-in-law, overhearing the conversation, added with a tone of quiet disappointment, "Your father saved diligently for his farewell. I even gave Carol an extra $20,000 to cover everything fully." I quickly did the math in my head, and the tension in the room thickened. $110,000 in total and only $99,000 spent. I asked, my voice rising with disbelief. "Carol, where's the rest?" Flustered, Carol avoided my gaze, her eyes darting around the room. After a long pause, she admitted to splurging the difference on a new car for herself, her voice barely above a whisper. I expected John to explode, his anger directed at Carol for her careless actions. But instead, he spoke softly, almost tenderly. "You shouldn't have done that. Be more careful next time." His words shocked me. Careful? She had committed fraud, and John was treating it like a minor mistake. Careful? John, she committed fraud, and you're okay with that? John's response was dismissive and infuriating. "You wouldn't understand. You've got no family. You don't get what it means to stick together." That was the breaking point. In front of everyone, I signed the divorce papers with a decisive flourish. "Carol, you owe me $45,000. Pay up, or I'm going to the police." John's protests echoed as I walked out the door, but I didn't look back. I had seen enough. The betrayal was complete, and my resolve to move on was absolute. The finality of my decision settled in as I packed up my things. The house now felt like a relic of a past life. The for sale sign outside was a stark reminder of the end of that chapter. By the afternoon, I was settled into a small apartment that surprisingly felt like a fresh start rather than a downgrade. As I sifted through the remnants of my old life that evening, my phone rang. John's name flashed across the screen, a name that no longer held any weight for me. Driven by curiosity, I answered. "Virginia, you need to back off." John's voice came through, tinged with an uncharacteristic harshness. "Back off? Not a chance, John. Carol took it from me, and I want it back. Your sister is a thief." John was silent for a moment before responding. "She's family. You wouldn't understand family." I scoffed. "That ship has sailed, John. As far as I'm concerned, you and your sister are just people I used to know." John tried to argue, but I cut him off. "Save it. Carol has 3 weeks to return my money, or I'm pressing charges. And you stay out of it. You're nothing to me now." I ended the call, feeling the strange mix of sadness and liberation. The man I once loved was now just another obstacle standing between me and the life I was reclaiming. 3 weeks later, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find Carol standing there, her posture defiant, a sneer curling her lips. Here's your money, she spat, shoving an envelope into my hands. Happy now, you money-grubbing witch. I took the envelope, my gaze steady. It's not about the money, Carol. It's about principle. It's about not letting you walk all over people. She laughed bitterly. Whatever helps you sleep at night. As she turned to leave, I called out, just remember, Carol, karma's a real pain. What goes around comes around. Closing the door, I felt a profound sense of closure. Ready to move forward, I felt the weight of that envelope in my hand. The money was a minor victory, but the real triumph was standing up for myself, refusing to be a victim of their lies and greed. Life settled into a calmer rhythm, more predictable and peaceful. But unexpectedly, my phone rang again, this time showing a number I hadn't seen in years. John. Hey, I need a favor. A big one, he said, his voice sounding worn and unfamiliar. I hesitated. A favor. John, we're past that, don't you think? He continued, his voice desperate. It's Carol. She's in deep trouble. She's up to her eyeballs, and the wolves are at the door. We've sold everything, the house, the shop, and it's still not enough. I took a moment to let his words sink in. And you're calling me? Why? I'm not part of the circus anymore, John. He sighed, desperation heavy in his tone. Come on, don't be like that. You got on and made it big with your trading. Can you spare something for old time's sake? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After everything, he still saw me as a lifeline for their mess. Spare something for her. After she nearly ruined us with her lies? You've got some nerve, John. It's not just for her, he countered, bitterness lacing his voice. It's for all of us. You wouldn't be where you're without me. Don't forget that. A short, sharp laugh escaped me. Where I am is despite you, not because of you. To think I owe you, that's rich. There was silence on the line, thick and uncomfortable. Finally, John spoke again. So that's it. You're going to turn your back on us. I didn't hesitate. There is no us, John. There hasn't been for a long time. And as for turning my back, I think you've got me confused with someone who still cares. I hung up, feeling a mixture of anger and relief. That chapter of my life was finally closed. Sitting in the living room of my new home, a place I had built through my own hard work, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. This was my sanctuary, not built on deceit and manipulation, but on resilience and strength. I had come a long way, and this was just the beginning.